Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. In this video, we are going to talk everything about environment variables and usage of it in Python. I am your host Anand Tripathi and you are watching Progress Story. So let's dive into the content. So in this video, we are going to cover what is environment variables, how to view environment variables, and how to set environment variables and all the usage of it and basic usage of it, and last but not the least, conclusion. What is environment variable? An environment variable is a dynamic named value that can affect the way running processes will behave on a computer. So if we dig deep into this sentence, so it's a dynamic named value. You can say it's a named variable that is having a value and it can affect the way running processes will behave on a computer. So it means if we change the value of environment variable, it will change the behavior of a running process. In a simple term, environment variable is a word that stands for a value that can change the behavior of a program. And you have seen many examples of environment variables already, I guess, like home, path, Python path, PWD, that is present working directory, and hostname. If we take the examples of these, like if you check path, so you will see absolute path of directories. And what is path? So basically it is the list of directories, or you can say the actual path where the shell is going to search the running program whether it is present or not. So for example, if we just type python 3, so it is going to open python 3. But how it is opening python 3? If you can check from which directory it is locating python 3, it is user local bin then python 3. And if you actually check, there is a user local bin in the path environment variable, and if you go inside it, you will see python 3 over there. So if you remove this directory from path environment variable, then the shell will not able to recognize python 3 program because it is not there in the path directories. So this is very important environment variable. The other environment variable is home. This is the home directory, and you might also use python path environment variable. So currently it is null for my terminal, but it is basically used to search all the Python libraries or Python related context when you are running a Python program. Another famous environment variable is PWD. So this is nothing but the present working directory where I am currently typing these commands. So you can also use PWD, that is a short form of it. And let's say if I change my directory, then it will change the PWD output. You can also do like this. So this is all about basics of environment variable. Now let's dive deep into it. So next is how to view environment variables. So what's a recap of it? So we have checked what is environment variable, basics of environment variable, and some examples of environment variables. Now we are going to see how to view environment variables. So there are different ways to view environment variables in shell, like if you type env command, if you type print env command, if you type echo command. So let's check it out how it works. So in my previous slide, I already shown you how to view all the environment variables, but let's dive deep into it, how to view some specific environment variables as well as all the environment variables that we are having in the shell. So now I'm going to just reset it. So first is env. So if you just say env, it will going to give you all the environment variables. So this is the very basic command of environment variable. It is just going to list out all the environment variables that are present in this current session of the terminal. As you can see, there are n number of environment variables, and there is a different command also for that, that is print env, that it is just doing the same. And if you want to print out specific environment variable, then you can do print env and the name of it. So For this example, let's say I'm using pwd, so it is just going to print out this environment variable value of pwd, that is my current present working directory. And if I do the same, I can do the same with env, so that is env pwd. That's how I can use, or that's how I can view the environment variable, all the environment variables and some specific environment variables. Another way to view the environment variable is to use the echo command. So echo command is nothing but it will just echo what you are typing. So let's say hello, this is Anand. So this is just going to print that statement in the terminal. But if you use the environment variable in the echo command, then it will going to echo the value of the environment variable. So let's say if I do pwd, then it is going to print out the value of environment variable, that is present working directory. I can also use the other variables like home, sorry for that, like this. So yeah, so this is the most common way to print out the value of environment variable that personally I also use it. So this is all about how to view using the shell. So we can also view the environment variables in a different programming languages. So in this case, let's say I will use Python. So for this video, I will just going to create temporary directory where I will do everything. So let's say it is in my some x directory, env vars. Now I will just create our first Python program, that is hello world. So let's say hello envvar.py. Hello world, this is Anand Tripathi. I am in love with me. So you can see it is just printing out name. Now what I can do is I can use some environment variable inside the Python program. So let's again go inside the file and remove this. I will use a format string for this. Then let's say username. So as you have seen, I am using OS module, so I have to import it. So if you want to work with environment variables in Python, then you have to use OS module for that, and you have to use os.environment. So you can either access it or you can also set those environment variables. So for this case, I am just going to import it and I am going to use username. So let's say if I run this, so yeah, by default my Python is using Python 2.7. I have to use Python 3. So now you can see it is none because the username is not set. So I can also, yeah, so for this example I don't want to set some new environment variable as I am going to cover those in the upcoming slides. So let's say I am going to use some default environment variables, that is home. So yeah, you can see I am now accessing or viewing the environment variable value of home, that is users Anand Tripathi, that is my present working directory so that is my home directory. So this is the way how you can access or view using Python. So you can also check out how I did this as a recap. So first you have to import the OS module, then you have to just use the os.environment dictionary. Then from that you have to access home. You can change these variables and that is pretty much it. So till now we have discussed what is environment variable, the basics of it, and some examples of environment variables, and how to view the environment variables, the different ways, and also in some programming language how you can access those. Next, we are cover how to set environment variables and its usage. So before starting that, we had a recap like what is environment variable, how to view it, and also maybe you are getting the idea about the usage of it, like how it will impact the running application if you change the environment variable. What is the advantage of it, like you can segregate or you can separate all the environment variables, all the configuration of the application into a separate project, separate file, so that they are so that they will not be inside the context of the application. You can avoid the hard coding of the variables, so that you will just pass the environment file, or you can just pass these variables from outside the application to inside. And also you can separate all the secrets from inside the application, so you don't have to pass, let's say, all the secret key inside the application as a hard coded key. You can pass it via environment variable, so that it will not be visible inside the application that what is the value of it, and it will not be pushed to some revision version, some revision tracking system like GitHub. So so now let's see how to set the environment variables. So first is the export statement, that is pretty much basic. So let's say in this example we we were using username, so let's revert it to username. So if I run it again, it will going to give me none value as it is not set. You can also cross check whether the username is set or not. So it is not set, it is empty. So first way is just exporting the value of username. So exporting the environment variable, that is username, let's say Anand. So now you can see it is just going to give me the value of username, that is Anand. Hello world, this is Anand. If I want to change it again to party, you can see it is now not giving the Tripathi because it is taking it as a continuous values. So either I can escape it. So you can either escape it like this, or you can escape it like this. Or you can use the single quote in the statement. So I rather prefer escaping it. So if you want, you can also change some value to different thing. Let's say this is progress story. Yeah. So this is the basic way of it, how you can export an environment variable for the session. Next way is the inline variable for a process. So there may be cases that you don't want to share an environment variable between different processes if you are running those processes in the same session. So let's say if I have one more program, I will just copy this hello in var to hello world. So if I run hello in var, so it will going to give me hello world, this is progress story, as the username is having progress story. If I'm going to run hello world, it is going to give me the same values. But let's say if there are circumstances that you don't want to share some environment variables between the applications, then you can also use some inline declaration of environment variables. So you can do it like this, just pass the name of it, then the value of it. Let's say Anand in this case. I'm really in love with my name, so let's change this XYZ, or let's say MacBook. then python 3 hello world. So now you can see hello world is using MacBook, as I have provided MacBook inside the commands. So this environment variable is actually affecting this process only, not the whole session. So to cross check, let's say if I run the different program, this is still using the old username value. And also if let's say if I will just echo it, it will give me progress story, not the MacBook. But if I go inside this program, I will see the username is MacBook. So the gist of it, if you want to export an environment variable for a particular process, then you can use an inline variable like this. And if you want to export for the whole session, then you can use the export statement. So that was the second way. And also you can create an environment file for it. Let's say if you are having a lot of environment variables, then it is good to just create an environment file for it. So the normal way, or you can say the most common way to create an environment variable file is just the .env, and here I am going to or you can say the one way is I am going to just specify the same export statement. Let's say env file or MacBook from env file. So env file is having one statement, that is it is exporting username to a different value. So to run it, I will just do source env. Now if I run the actual program, it has changed from progress story to MacBook from env file. So this is one way that you can put all the environment variables in .env file, and you can just source the env file. So the other way is also that you can actually remove the export statement, and you can directly mention the environment variable and the value of it, because this is the structure that is accepted by all other program applications like Docker. So here you can see it's just the username and the value of it. And now if I just source it, then I can run the program, it will going to give me this, the value of it. And let's say if you want to pass this env file to a programming application, then it will not work for a particular process. Let's say env, then what you will do with env, that I was actually not sure of. So for that you can just create a file, shell file. Then my intention is I can use this shell file to export all the environment variables just for a process, so that it will work as a inline variables, and it will apply it to the process that is running in that command line. So I am just creating a variables that will collect the value of the environment variable file that I will pass. So that will be the first argument of the command. Then the actual command that I am going to use, so that will start from you can say that will start after the argument, after the first file. So for that I will do this. Then I will export all the environment variables. I will source the file and I will close it. And at last I will just run the whole command that I collected in the line number 2. So if you want to run a shell file, then you have to change the permission of it so that it will be executable. So I will not going to cover this whole permission thing, like what is the first what is 7 actually means, what is 5 means, that I'm going to cover in some upcoming videos. So for that you can just you will just get the idea that this command is just going to change this file to a executable files. So I don't need to do sh then the actual file name. I can just do / run with env. Mm, no, so I have to change. I by mistake I just named it with dot, that is hidden, so I will just move it basically, or you can say rename it. Now I can use this. So as you have remember, so first I have to give the environment variable file as an argument, then I have to actually type the actual command. So in this case, the hello world program MacBook from env. So let's say I will change this env file to Mac. The username is changed to Mac. I am not, as you can see, I am not actually sourcing the file. I am just running this. So the username value is only for this process that I am running, Python 3 hello world. It is not shared or it is not inside the whole context. If you just do echo, it will still going to print the old value that is exported before. So this file, or you can say these commands, comes very handy if you don't want to share these environment variable values among all the different programs. So yeah, so personally I am also using this. So next is python-dotenv. So this is a separate library just to load all the environment variables, or you can say just to play with all the environment variables, view it, edit it. So first let's install it. Python-dotenv. So once it's installed, you can just open your Python file. What was that? Hello env. Then I am going to import .env. So first I have to load all the environment variables from .env file. For that I can just use this function of python.env. So it is just going to take a default variable file, that is .env, and it will going to load all the environment variables from it, and it will pass all the environment variable into this present context of Python of this file. So this comes very handy. We don't have to use that file that I have just created before this example, that was run with env. I don't need to source all the environment variables. So all of the things are taken care by this library. So let's cross check. So my env file is having Mac value, and if I just check out my Python content, so it is loading all the environment variable from .env file, because the default directory, or you can say the default path, is .env file of the current directory. So in the current directory I already have .env, so it will going to load all the variables from that, and it is just going to print out username from it. So if I run this, you can say, see, it is still exporting, or you can say it is still viewing, printing the old environment variable that is inside my session, because the default precedence of it is like it is taking from my session. One thing I can do is I just kill my session, and now run it. So it will going to use from the .env file. But the other thing is, like, maybe this can happen in different environments, or you can say your different staging environment, then it will create some confusion. So better way is just again go to the Python file and just change one variable, that is override to true. So by default it is false. So first it is taking from the session, then it is taking from .env file. So if you will just override it, now I will just run it, it is using Mac, that is from .env file, not from the session. So personally I use this override equal to true, where true inside load.env, just to avoid all the mishaps that can happen without your consent or without you knowing of it. So yeah, and I'm basically using vi, but just to be more interactive, so you can see all these things inside IPython. Let's say if I use from .env, it will also give me some suggestion like what are those variables arguments in it. Load.env. So this is a static typing in Python, so it will, I guess you will going to love it. It will give you all the suggestions like what all variables are there. So you can see override is by default false, so you can actually change it. Override equal to true, or like just some tip, you can also see help of load.env. So this will actually give all the document string of that function. So that's yeah, so that's pretty much it about python.env. So the other use case is you also want to export these environment variable in the whole, or you can say globally inside the whole shell. So for that you can either mention those environment variable inside the bash profile file, or if you are, let's say, using zsh, then inside zshrc or in bash rc. So you just have to mention like export the actual statement, export the variable name and the variable value. If you open these files, so maybe you will just see the existing variables that are already set there, and you can also use them, you can change them, but be aware that maybe you are not changing some system level environment variables. So, and the last way of setting an environment variable that I also use in my production application, that is Pydantic library. That is very good, or you can say that is perfect to manage all the configuration values inside Python application. I also wrote a blog for it. You can check out like how to configure management, how to do configuration management in Python using Pydantic. And Pydantic internally uses python.env, so that you don't need to export all the environment variables using some separate commands, or you don't need to write os environment.get, all those things. That is internally used, or you can say that is internally managed by Pydantic. So the usage is very simple, the syntax is very simple. You can just check out this blog for it. So at last but not the least, we came to the conclusion, like what are the pros and cons of using environment variables. So it is very easy to use it, but you have to check like how to use it. That is very easy, but when to use it, that is upon the developer's discretion. So that is, I guess personally, that is for me, that is the best way to manage all the configuration management. I have also mentioned that using, like I am also using Pydantic library to manage all the configuration, and that is indeed internally using in all the environment variables using that load.env library. It is also very useful in managing all the secrets, so that you don't need to hard code all the secrets inside your Python application, or you can say the revision tracking system. It will not be managed or tracked there. You can use environment variables for that. And last but not the least, you can also check out the Medium blog that I have wrote for, especially for the basics of environment variables. So I will just leave the link of the blog in the description. You can check out that, and also I will leave the link of GitHub project that is using configuration managed, that is using environment variables using let's say load.env or using the Pydantic. So thanks for being with us. If you have any question, just leave me the comment. And if you like the video, just don't forget to subscribe the channel, like the video, and also please share with your friends if you learned something out from it. So see you in the next video. Till then, take care and bye bye.